Hello, everybody. This is Julia Gaskill from toughpigs.com, and I am here with Dave LaMattina and Chad Walker from Copper Pot Pictures. Dave and Chad, how you fellas doing?
Good. How you doing, Julia?
Pretty good. I'm so excited to be here talking with you guys. Now, you two are two of the minds behind the upcoming documentary I Am Big Bird, which we're all very excited about, and oh my god, we're so excited.
It's been really great. The fan reaction from the moment we announced the film publicly, which is probably a few months ago now, to this point now, to the middle of our Kickstarter campaign, has really been unbelievable. We thought it would be. We know how Muppet fans are a passionate fan base. We watched everyone rally around the new Muppet movie that Disney put out, and we had sort of hoped that we would have a similar swelling of the fan base, and we certainly have.
Yeah, well, how's the experience been so far making this documentary? Has it been just mind blowing?
It really has. As you may know, and the listeners may know if they followed us on Twitter and things like that, the biggest the biggest treasure that we have as filmmakers is that Caroll's opened up his archive to us, and he's been so thorough in his archiving since the 50s with video and photos and things like that. So for filmmakers, that's been really mind blowing. Yeah, when we went into our meeting with Caroll to kind of pitch him the idea of the movie and stuff, his wife Deb said, "Oh, by the way, we've pretty much recorded everything we've ever done," and we just both lost our minds right there. There's like behind the scenes stuff from Fall That Bird and the Christmas special and stuff. Just amazing gems. It's been great.
Yeah, and you guys have been sharing a lot of the behind the scenes footage and pictures that you've been sharing all of that you've gotten from Caroll, and it's just been so wonderful to see and so refreshing. It's so great. It's not every day that people, I mean, Caroll Spinney is a national treasure and everybody loves him, but it's not every day that people go, I think I want to make a documentary about Caroll Spinney. So I was wondering if there was kind of anything that sparked this interest in this idea to make a documentary all around, not just his work with Sesame Street, but kind of his life in general.
Julia, we tend to make movies like this. We go, hey, what's something we're really interested in? So we have a movie that we're also working on that's about soccer, which is completely different than this one. But with this one, what happened is I was interning at Sesame Street as one of my first jobs in the industry, maybe hoping at some point to write for the show. And at at that point, I started to know a lot of people and things like that. And I was telling a friend about this, and his fiance was there, and she said, "Oh, I'm actually really good friends with Caroll Spinney, who's been Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch since 1969." I sort of talked to Chad about that and said, "Hey, that could be an interesting film," and Chad sort of jumped on it. Yeah, as soon as I heard it was, the same guy since 1969 that's done it, I really thought that was unbelievable. And he's 78 and still doing it, which is ridiculous when you think about it. I mean, he holds that bird head is 5 pounds.
Yeah.
And he holds it up over his head. It's crazy for all those takes, all day. And one other thing that I really like too is that no one really does know who Caroll Spinney is, and as filmmakers, you don't often get a chance to tell the story about something, Big Bird, that everyone knows, but about someone at the same time that no one knows. It's really an interesting, unique experience as a filmmaker. In fact, we went to Times Square and we asked a bunch of people, "Oh, what's your favorite Big Bird moment?" Or "Why do you love Big Bird?" And everyone had these great answers. And then we said, "Oh, well, do you know who Caroll Spinney is?" And no one knew. It was so fascinating and so great.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I'm a diehard Muppet and Sesame Street fan, so I've got to ask, what is Caroll Spinney like? Is he like the greatest? Because that's how I imagine him.
He really is everything that you would want the person that plays Big Bird to be. He's just the most wonderful, compassionate, kind man that I have ever met. And I don't know if he's always been that way, or if Big Bird made him that way, or if what I think is probably more likely, he made Big Bird that way. He really is. He really is just a wonderful, kind man, and he does have a wicked sense of humor. Like he's a great improv artist. That's sort of where he shines. I still think when you see him on something like Jimmy Kimmel Live or something like that, he still is. He really shines there. But he's just a wonderful man. My wife is about to have our first baby, and every time we call the Spinneys, the first thing they ask me is how my wife is doing. They still haven't met my wife yet, but they ask every time. They know her due date. It's crazy. It's just like they're just these amazing, wonderful people.
Wow. Well, do you guys have any favorite moments that you've had with Caroll so far? Any silly stories you'd like to share?
Some of my favorite moments with Caroll, actually, when we go film with him, whenever you put lights up and things like that, even for a seasoned veteran like Caroll, putting lights and getting a camera out sort of initiates a sense of formality that we're always trying to break down as filmmakers. My favorite moments with the Spinneys, and I always say the Spinneys because you can't have Caroll without Deb. She's everywhere. She's always with him. But some of my favorite moments with them are when we're not shooting, and whenever we go up to film with them, we always get pizza from the same place, and then we all sit around the table and have a nice hour-long chat about just sort of things in general. And those are the moments where you stop and you sit and you go, wow, this man has shaped millions of people, and we're just sitting here kicking it with him. And those are some of my favorite moments.
Yeah. For me, I think when going back to that pitch meeting, we're all, Dave and I are talking about what we envision the movie, what it's going to be like, and we're talking about all these things. I think at one point, we'll start talking about something not related to that, and to the movie, and I look over, and Caroll out of nowhere pulls Oscar up out of a bag from underneath the table, and I'm looking at Oscar, and Oscar's looking at me. Oscar's like fully alive, blinking, kind of like staring me down, while Caroll is talking to Dave about something totally, just totally in the conversation with Dave, and I'm like, wow, this is kind of creeping me out. Like Oscar is looking at me while Caroll is in a conversation with someone else, and then all of a sudden Oscar just goes boring, like out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh my god, Oscar just came to life. It was crazy. And then he starts talking as Oscar, and that to me was just right out of the gate was just a mind blowing experience.
Oh man, that's wonderful. And have you guys gotten a chance to interview anyone else for this documentary? Any other puppeteers or maybe celebrities or people we wouldn't expect to see?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons we're in the middle of the Kickstarter campaign is so we can finance a lot more of the production, so we can go out to LA and shoot some of the Muppeteers that maybe have relocated there or out there, and pick up some other interviews. But that said, we have had a chance to sit down with Jerry Nelson, who was just amazing. We went up to his home in Massachusetts and we hung out with him. Just to have him on camera was pretty great. And then we also sat down with Frank Averuch, who was the Bozo the Clown on the show that was filmed in Boston that ended up getting syndicated nationwide. And so sitting down with Frank was really cool because, he's another guy that's like Caroll, who's been doing it for a long time. And he did Bozo for 6 or 7 years and then went on to something else, whereas Caroll did Bozo and then wanted to do something more and went off to Sesame Street. So that was a really cool thing to sit down. And then we also had a chance to to shoot Caroll working with Michael Bublé, so we think Mr. Bublé will be in the film. And we also very recently, if you are following the Twitter campaign, just saw it, had a chance to sit down with OK Go, who has Tough Pigs, called them rightfully so on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah.
Now Muppet fans extraordinaire or something like that. Noted Muppet fans is what they said. The noted Muppet fans. And they really were. They talked about Caroll and they had some really wonderful things to say. So we are looking at people like that who have been impacted by Caroll that maybe didn't necessarily work with him.
Okay, and so you still have some more interviews you'd like to do, so the documentary is not complete just yet then?
No, we have the bulk of interviews to do, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's segue into talking about your Kickstarter program, which has been going for, I think, is it 3 weeks now? I think that's right.
We are starting our 3rd week right now.
Oh, okay.
We're today is actually the midway point. We're exactly halfway done.
Which is pretty good considering you guys, I think, are about, shy 400 of reaching $50,000.
Yeah, it's great. We set a lofty goal of $100,000, which is not unheard of on Kickstarter. But it is terrifying because, as you probably know, the big thing with Kickstarter is that if you don't hit your goal, you do not get any money. So people don't get charged. Like if you pledge $100 and we don't reach our goal, you don't get charged. But we also, even if we raise $999,000, we're not gonna get the $100,000 unless we hit that mark.
Oh, I didn't know that about I didn't know that about Kickstarter. Oh, okay, well that makes sense.
Well, at the report, we just hit $50,000, so we're very excited.
Yeah, that's a huge milestone.
That's great. Yeah, and could you talk about maybe because for every amount that you donate, you get kind of a certain little prize, and the more you donate, the more you get. Could you talk maybe about those things?
Yeah, of course. Well, the way Kickstarter works is, people basically pledge X amount of dollars for unique rewards. And the big thing with Kickstarter is they say, the more unique you reward, the more people are going to pledge and be willing to pledge. And so we have been really lucky that Caroll and Deb have been really willing to help us with this and have offered some really cool rewards up. So, the most basic rewards we have are things like for $25 you can get a DVD of the film. So essentially what you're doing is you're pre-ordering the DVD. We have on the high end of rewards some things like $10,000 to go out to a private dinner with Caroll and us, the filmmaking team. But there's a ton of stuff spread in there throughout. One thing we found out is really popular is the 2-disc special edition Blu-ray, which has all this archival footage. The film can only be probably about 90 minutes long. We can't fit the hundreds of hours of footage we have in there. But what we are going to try and do is make some of that stuff that's great that doesn't make it to the film available on this 2-disc Blu-ray set. And that's been one of our most sought after items. So we're looking for ways now to try and make that available for people again, because it did sell out already. So we're trying to find a way to get that into more Muppet fans' hands.
Yeah, definitely. And didn't you guys, I think it was yesterday, you did kind of a one-time only where if people gave a certain amount of money, they could pre-order the Blu-ray. Is that correct?
Yeah. That was for the 2-disc special edition Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And people were super excited about it, and we totally underestimated how much people would want that. So we're looking for ways to make that available, because I think the thing that people need to remember is with all of these rewards, there's a certain amount of overhead that we pick up to pay for them and things like that. So that's why the quantities are sometimes limited, because we can't just do a huge run of things and not, it's because it would just cost us a lot of money. We wouldn't make any money. We wouldn't be able to make the movie. So there are reasons to all this, but there is a little bit of Kickstarter that is still learning on the fly, and because of that time deadline, you do sort of have to adjust. But people have been really patient with us, and I think and I hope that people know that we are trying to get people what they want, and we want to make sure that the fans know that we are thinking of them really first and foremost here.
Yeah, I mean, we ourselves are fans, and really, want to make this movie and make it so that the fans really like it. So we've really been open to questions and comments and things through our website. IamBigBird.com, and we've really found that during this Kickstarter campaign, we've gone back and forth with lots of fans, and it really has been great.
Great, yeah. And so if you guys do make your quota, when do you think tentatively this film, or at least when do you hope this film will be hitting theaters?
We would say the film will be done and hitting the festival circuit probably in late 2013. We have lots of distributors interested in the film at this point, but the way that works is that people aren't really going to sign up on anything at this point until the film is done. So it's hard for us to say when exactly it will hit like your local theater, and it might never hit your local multiplex, but it will probably hit your local art theater, your local independent theater. But we do expect to be hitting the festival circuit in late 2013, and if our first film we did as a company was a much smaller film, and if that's any indication, it really did play in a lot of geographical areas. So there will definitely be ways for people to see the film, but really the really wonderful thing about Kickstarter in this is that if you want to see the film, you can pledge right now and make sure that you get a chance to see the film.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well now I have a very, very serious question for you guys. Who's your favorite Spinney character, Big Bird or Oscar?
Oh man,
that's tough. I mean, I think
it's not that tough. You're totally Big Bird.
Well, no, I was gonna say I think I'm more of a. The question was which Muppet are you most like? It's which one do you like the most?
Yeah.
I would probably say Big Bird. I do love Oscar. He's so funny, and I love that he gives Caroll that outlet to exhibit his like wicked side. But I definitely would say I'm Big Bird, and I go back like my people never really ask us this, but my favorite like Big Bird special or moment or episode or whatever, I have a really a deep love for Big Bird in China for some reason. I think I remember watching it on TV when it aired as a network special and stuff like that. And I also really love Don't Eat the Pictures, the Metropolitan Museum of Art special. I think that was one of my favorites. So I think when I look back at those, I think, man, I really do. Big Bird is my guy.
Yeah, for me, I would say that I do. It is tough because I think that Oscar is so funny and is so has such a heart of gold. But I will say, I think that Big Bird of the two is definitely my favorite. I just love everything about Big Bird, his personality, his look. He's so sweet and so innocent. And now that, I have a child of my own, just a lot of the things that Big Bird does, because Big Bird really, he's like a 6-year-old, really just connect with those younger kids. Me myself, I'm probably more like Oscar, I would say, but I definitely think that Big Bird is my favorite.
Yeah, I'd have to go with you guys. I adore Big Bird so very much. All right, well, we're coming to the end of our interview, but I've just got 2 more questions left for you. What do you hope people will take away from your documentary?
I think that there's an easy answer to that question, which is that you just want people to have an appreciation for who Caroll is and who the person is that shaped their lives. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot more to this. It's like, watching Caroll from the time he's a young man to now, I don't know. I think seeing how he's lived his life really teaches lessons, much like Big Bird, of compassion and kindness. And seeing a story about a man like that who has stayed true to himself and has stayed true to those values, I think is inspirational and sort of drives home the point that, he says in his book, be true to who you are. And I think Caroll has lived his life that way. He's been true to who he is. And I think that I hope that people take that away from this, is be true to who you are, and things will probably work out all right for you.
That was a good answer.
It was a good answer.
I would say all that. And I really do hope, because for me, when we go through all this archival footage, I can't help feeling like I'm sitting on the couch with my grandparents looking back through their photo book, and I am truly learning who these people are through photos and through videos and stuff. And as we go through this stuff with Caroll, I feel like it's a very similar experience, and it's very touching, and it you have a deep connection that way. And I really do hope that people watch the movie, and when they're done, they not only appreciate Caroll for everything he did as Big Bird, but they also just really appreciate the life that he's led. I know it's very similar to what Dave said, but I think that's really important because he is such a good guy, and he has affected so many people throughout the world, really. That's what I'm hoping that people get from that they just really realize and connect with Caroll and say, you know what, that guy is a great guy, and he really is everything you'd hope that he would be.
Those are both great answers. And for my last question, are there any messages that you'd like to pass along to the fan base before we end?
Well, there's 2 things. One, look, is the obvious plug that you have to make for Kickstarter. Kickstarter ends August 16th. If we don't hit $100,000, we don't get anything. And no one's credit card is charged. That's important to remember. Sorry, I totally just lost my train of thought there. But the other thing I want to pass along to fans is that we really are trying to make a film that you guys will be proud of, that you guys will like, that sheds some new light on things that you guys don't know about, maybe. Because, obviously there are a lot of stories out there about Caroll, how he got the voice of Oscar, things like that. We're trying to break a little bit of new ground with our film and not necessarily just go over that stuff, but get some new stuff in there. So look for that. But also as part of that, and wanting to make a film that the fans like, we are trying to be as accessible as possible. So, email us. You can go on our website, iambigbird.com, where you can both click the link to go to Kickstarter and also click on the contact page and get in touch with us. We are a small company. We do answer all the emails ourselves. You're going to get it from myself, Chad, or our partner Clay. So reach out to us. Tell us if there's something you want to see. Tell us if there's something that we're not doing right. Although that we hope we don't get a ton of those. But reach out, communicate with us, because I really think that in the short time that the film has been public, we've benefited greatly from the knowledge base of the Muppet fans.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to answer my questions, and it's just been such a delight getting to talk with you guys, and I, like everybody else, is just super excited for this documentary to come out.
Thank you so much, Julia. And we definitely want to do this again. We can talk throughout the process. Let us know if you guys want to chat, if there's anything you want to know about the film, and we can get back on the phone and do this again.
Oh yeah, definitely. That would be super. Yes. We'll have to do it again.
Okay, cool.
All right, well, again, this has been Tough Pigs chatting with Dave LaMattina and Chad Walker from I Am Big Bird. For updates on the film, you can go to iambigbird.com or follow them on Tumblr and or Twitter. And if you haven't given to their Kickstarter yet, please visit and please donate. Every dollar helps. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody.